Sports Card Podcast, where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
Welcome to another edition of Hobby Quick Hits. Thanks for jumping in and downloading or listening to the show. But this show is made possible by our great sponsor, Mojo Breaks. So before we get this episode started, let's take a quick minute to hear from them. We'll be right back and start the show. Hey folks, wanted to tell you about the best place to get some of your sealed sports card wax products. Great selection and some of the lowest prices on the web. MojoBreakShop.com is that place. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they're your guys, and they ship around the world right to your door. The Mojo Break name is one of the most trusted in the hobby. From sports cards to Pokemon, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders. Who won first place at this year's Topps Rip Party? None other than Mojo Break. Their prices are already great, but here's a way to save even more money. Use the code QUICKHITS, that's QUICKHITS, for 10% off anything on MojoBreakShop.com. They also have a full-service card shop in Santa Clara, California. So if you're in the area, stop by. They're open 7 days a week, so check them out at MojoBreakShop.com. All right, as I typically sometimes do with Hobby Quick Hits, because it's a shorter 10 to 20 minute show, I'll record 2, 3, sometimes even 4 episodes in a night. And, just whatever's on my mind or whatever's current going on. And this is not the first time it's happened, but the episode you're hearing right now today was not what I was preparing to release. So what you're hearing today is something I recorded real current, and I'm pushing this out there rather than the original one because I think it's sort of really trending, current, and very important. So the title of this episode is The Sports Card Market Crashing ? That is the question. I will say this, definitely different now than it was. I mean, that's a no-brainer. We are seeing lower prices, significant. And if you base it on the percentages of what's considered a crash, then yes, we are in a sports market crash. Definitely a extreme correction. I mean, a lot of this, we're arguing over terminology. It really doesn't matter what we call it, right? A correction, a crash. I think with crash, the sounds of it scare people, like it's the end. You know, when you crash, you don't recover, let's say, or it's terrible, or all your cards are worthless, and it's like the depression, when we think about stock market crash and all that. So the connotation people are, I think, fearful of, and sometimes more fearful of the word and the connotation than what's actually happening itself. And for sure, cards have went down, waxes went down. We're not in the same stratosphere as we were even 3-4 months ago, a year ago, and so on during what we'll call the boom period. And for people who are maybe in this market to make a quick flip or quick buck, this really hits home for them. And I suspect many may exit the same way they came in, kind of quickly. Some people will like that. Some people like me will sort of be in the middle, right? I mean, each their own, but I think for this hobby to thrive and survive, we need people transacting in it. So I'm very hesitant to celebrate a bunch of people leaving, especially all at one time. It sometimes happens in these cases. So I'm not screaming from the rooftops, goodbye, good riddance, or anything like that. And some others, even if you're not a quick flipper as they're known, even if you're someone like myself that's been in this industry, if you will, a long time, 30 plus years, you don't really like seeing the value of your portfolio, the value of your collection decline. Even people who, we hear the term true collector thrown around. I don't, true collector meaning I don't sell my cards. I buy my cards, I keep them, maybe I trade them, but I don't sell them. And it's more like a badge of honor, and to each their own. You've heard me say that, hobby your way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I guess it rubs me a wrong way sometimes when these true collectors sort of frown upon people who sell their cards. And my easy response to that is, where did you get your cards? Did the store bring them? Were they just on your doorstep from an anonymous donor? Did you rob somebody? You had to buy your cards, whether it was in box form, complete set from whether it's Walmart or Joe's card shop in your neighborhood. You bought it from somebody selling cards. And so that's great that you don't want to sell yours or you don't transact on that level, but we got to stop being derogatory or condescending to those that do, like myself. And I'd say that even if I wasn't a seller. Believe me, this is not me being upset about that because I sell cards. I just think it's a little disingenuous on that side of the aisle to sort of talk down or look upon negatively to people who sell cards, sports cards or trading cards. And you don't want to, that's great. I don't knock you for not selling your cards, and that's the way it should be. But we're getting back onto the track here with what we're in right now. I think the wording of it is almost inconsequential, right? The wording has no effect on the percentage drops we're seeing, right? 30, 40, in some cases 50%, precipitous, right? Guys that wear suit and ties that like to throw lingo around might take more heed into the percentage drop. People who work in the financial industry on an everyday basis might be more into the lingo. And I understand it has a place, but call it what you will. A crash is in itself a correction too. It's just a very large one. And so we may be in a crash, very large collection. I know my friend Mike Moynihan, baseball collector, on YouTube, whose fingers on the pulse of this, especially on the vintage side. I was just on his show, might already be out or soon to be, and I didn't, I knew what was going on in the modern end of the pool, and until talking to him and he pulled up a graph and a chart, I didn't realize it was even getting into the vintage end of things, that some of these drops are happening on significant cards over there. And he was very transparent. He pulled up a chart of some of his key cards in his collection, which, by the way, is tremendous. And very forthcoming. I said, look, John, here's some of my, 10, 11 top cards, my, probably most valuable cards. And here's where they were at this stage and at this calendar point. And here's where they are today. And here's the percentage decrease. And if you know anything about Mike, he doesn't collect cards for those values or for those monetary purposes. But like anyone else, right, we like to know what our cards are worth, right? When we open a pack and hit something nice, right? Honestly, after maybe putting it in a top loader, semi-rigid, soft sleeve, snap tight, right? What's one of the first things we do, right? Go and check the comps. What is this thing worth, right? Admit it. I don't care if you don't sell your cards. I don't care if you're one of those people who say, I'm not in this for financial reasons. I'd collect cards if they were worth nothing. Yada, yada, yada. I get all that. But what's the first thing those folks do too, right? Go to eBay, check comps, other analytical, price market tools, right? So it's just inherently, right? I think, and you don't have to apologize for it. It doesn't make you a bad person. I think it's human nature. Like, what do I got here? I mean, that's why shows like that, like, Storage Wars and these auction shows and, the Pickers, American Pickers, those shows are as popular as they are because people want to know, hey, what's that worth? Or that could be in my grandparents' attic, that same item, and what did they get for it, right? It's just human nature. I don't think we need to apologize for it. I, for one, will not be apologizing for wondering what something I either purchased or pulled, what its market value is. No need to apologize for that. And so I was even surprised to the vintage side, the 30%, 40% drops on most cards. And, the card everyone looks at as sort of the I don't want to say maybe the number one card, but it's right there. The Jordan rookie and the PSA 8, sort of that base midline, like what's the PSA Jordan going for right now? And so a year ago, a PSA Jordan on the secondary level would cost you $21,000 to buy and own. Today, $9,000. So that is a significant drop, over 50% or more, right? And it's an indicator. These are all indicators, like it or not. And so other key cards, the Griffey rookie in baseball, LeBron, other LeBrons in basketball, McDavid cards in hockey, football. You got your Barry Sanders, Peyton rookies, Emmitt Smith, your key quarterbacks, which are there are a lot. All these are indicators of where we are in the market, and all these indicators are showing 30 to 50% decreases, depending on card, and that's why that range is wide. So the first question someone might ask me, and I get this question. I got this question actually, yesterday before I recorded the show. Why, John, do you think this is occurring? Give your expert opinion, is how it was worded. Well, first of all, I don't think there are any experts in the sports card industry or market. I think there's very experienced people. And so I'll use the word experienced over expert. And I know, the EXPER and experience kind of plays into the expert. But I just don't like, using the word expert all the time. So I'll just say my experience tells me, and I've said this already, if you listen to any of the shows on a regular basis, you've heard me say why I think, when I probably said it last, I said this is going to be the reason it happens before it happened. And here we are, it's happening, and I'm still going to stay steadfast to why I think that is. What's happening in real time in macroeconomics, outside the card industry, obviously, has a direct effect on the card industry. For the same reason the card industry boomed during the pandemic. People home, a lot of free time, people working from home, stimulus packages to people who were still working, so it was just bonus extra money. People going on unemployment, getting $600 a week surplus bonuses in addition to their unemployment check. All these things together was the perfect storm and the perfect ingredients to people who are in the hobby spending more money in the hobby, right? And then you had the other, when the more money in the hobby, what happens? You get new flippers, day traders, investors, if you want to call them. New people coming in that just see dollar signs and, hey, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to buy this on Monday for $50 and I'm going to sell it on Tuesday for $110 and over double my money, and keep doing this, Then we had, card art really catch fire with Project 2020 from Topps, and then Project 70, which is not faring as well, but still doing doing okay. So we had all these factors, new people, celebrities endorsing it. It was cool to be into the sports card world again. Like, so people could come out of the woodwork, or could stop hiding in the shadows, to be a little dramatic. And so all this kind of happened at once, and boom, this thing like a rocket shot up to the stratosphere. Well, what's going on? Flash forward, right? Let's go to current times. What's going on now? And I'm going to try to keep this as little political as possible. I'm not going to mention people by names, but what do we see? We see gas prices shooting up again. We see conflicts in various parts of the world flaring up that were kind of cooled off before. They are now simmering. We see border issues, right? We see a lot of scary things going on in the world. We see, but more importantly, or not on the political level, but industry-wise, hobby-wise, what do we don't have now? Those stimulus packages have stopped. Those unemployment bonuses, the extra unemployment bonuses, have been rescinded. In other words, you can get unemployment, but it's the unemployment we knew before the pandemic hit, where you can get only so much a week based on what your former salary was. And so things like that have gone back to normal. People have come back to the offices. I know even where I work, people who were able to work from home, I wasn't in that category, but other people in my building who were afforded the opportunity to work at home, they have returned to the building as report, as told. And so people are going back to work. Got to be, someone watching you. Can't have always 10 tabs open, and eBay and Copsy and Sportlots and Star Stock and whoever else, right? My Slabs. You can't have all those tabs open, doing searches and transacting as much. Now you're under the watchful eye. You don't have that extra stimulus money. Things are opening back up again. Movie theaters, restaurants. I've went out to restaurants more with my spouse since they've reopened, and so we're spending money we didn't really spend, and so have other people. Movie theaters have opened, other entertainment centers, right? Have reopened under very normal conditions. Hey, if you've gotten the vaccine, you don't have to wear your mask. It's optional, right? You can still wear your mask, but if you have the vaccine, we're not going to make you wear a mask. So, when you're walking around without a mask, you that normalcy's kicking in again, right? When I went to Dallas 3-4 weeks ago, very few people wearing masks. I did. Through confession, I walked around without one. I had one on me, that's for sure. But I just, no one else was wearing it. I had my vaccine. It was sort of, trying to get that normal feeling. And so we're getting there. People are going out and not staying home on weekends. And so all that extra money that was being influxed into the hobby during down times when things were closed and we were getting those bonus packages, it isn't there anymore, right? And then you have the uncertainty of what's going on in the political landscape and in other countries, and we see skirmishes and things simmering and posturing and gas prices raising, and things are people are nervous about what's going on those levels, right? And so that sports cards sort of taking that middle to back seat again, where they all of a sudden were in the front seat during the heyday. And so we're seeing cards get into correct levels. Now, I guess there's two ways to look at that, folks. You can be upset about it if you paid a lot more and now you have to take a loss, and hey, that's the risk you take. I'm sorry, I don't really feel bad for you. That's that is what it is, right? For someone like me who, no matter what happens with the card market, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be in the hobby, right? So I just adapt, right? It's a great time to buy right now if you're going to be in this for the long haul, quite frankly. And truthfully, I'd be buying more right now. I'm only not buying for one reason. I said this on one of my previous shows or as a guest on another show. The only reason I've really turned the faucet off to buying right now, it's a perfect time to buy. Quite frankly, I might actually cost myself here by not buying. But the only reason I'm not buying right now is the Nationals coming up. I'm just all the stuff I would be buying in online form, on platforms, all those selling platforms, eBay, ComC, MySlabs, all those transactions, all those searches. I've turned that faucet off, right or wrong. It's just a personal decision, and I've just, putting that money away to take quite frankly, to take to Chicago with me, with the goal to buy the same cards I would online, but buy them in person. And you've heard me say this too. I'd rather buy a card if price is not any different, if price is not a variable, I would rather buy the card in person than online. It's in your hand, you can see it, the social interaction with the seller as a buyer, and I'm on both sides of the table at different times as a dealer myself. Those transactions I rather have in person. So going to the National here in about a month, I'm going to be one of the big questions that I want to see is what are the dealers going to do? Are they going to sell at the current comps? Are they going to try to hold out and price their stuff higher, just hoping they can get the last remnants, the last sales of the tail end of a hobby boom, which I'm going to tell you that tail end has left the station. But, some dealers think like they just hold out for one, more big sales at the last minute type of deal. Are they going to, do what some dealers do, which it's hard to really gauge this unless a dealer admits it, but are they going to hold some cards back? Hey, I have these cards. I'm not going to put them in my showcase and sell at the current comps. I got more than that into them. I bought them for more, and I don't want to take the loss. I'm going to hold them, not sell them, and hope there's some sort of rebound at some point where I can either sell them at least for what I paid or more, maybe, hopefully, depending on the rebound. So, what do you do during this time period? You can complain about it and say that the sky is falling, the Chicken Little, right? The sky is falling. It's all over. The world's coming to an end. The hobby's crashing. It's going to be like the 90s again, and where the stuff's not even worth the paper they're printed on. Or you can kind of take my approach and say, man, this is the perfect time to buy some stuff at some point is going to rebound and go back up. Maybe not to the point, the high points they were during the heyday and the boom. You got to keep that in mind too. They may never get to that stratosphere again. But some things that have come down won't stay down, just in the same effect that it couldn't stay up that long. Everything can't go up and to the right. And you might think I'm crazy here. I don't necessarily think this correction / crash is a bad thing. I think it's kind of good. If you're not a fan of those people that just came in it real quick to just saw dollar signs only, and they leave, you're going to be happy. And I don't have an opinion either way. But we're all adults, right? If you're over 18 anyway, to come and go in whatever hobby you please. I'm not trying to make anyone leave, but maybe if a little bit of that happens, truth be told, a little truth serum to me, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. While I'm not advocating that, the hobby's going to survive. One of the things you got to keep in mind is where the hobby was prior to the pandemic. It was strong then. Then the pandemic happened. It went through the stratosphere. Best probably year and a half, 2 years ever in the history of the hobby. And so now we're seeing that correction, that downward back to sort of levels pre-pandemic, and in some cases lower. I get it, and it scares people. But I don't think that's terrible. I think it makes the hobby, again, affordable to some people who frankly got priced out and left for that reason. A lot of people I know, I don't want to say a lot, but a considerable amount who were in the hobby a long time when those prices went to the stratosphere, they told me, I'm getting out. I can't even, number one, I can't go to Walmart or Target and find a pack. If I go to get a hobby box, the prices are 6 times the SRP. I'm not paying $200 for a box of Score football, John. I'm think I'm done. This is my sign to leave. And I try to talk them off the ledge a little bit when I'm privy to those conversations. They said, no, I'm going to my LCS. I got an appointment tomorrow. He said, bring in my stuff. I'm probably going to, as long as I get a halfway decent offer, I'm going to sell it and get out and not worry about it no more. Can't afford it anyway. And, and so it's some of those folks did that. Maybe they come back with the correction. I don't know. But, I'm going to be in it. Speaking from personals, I've been through these before, right? Since 1979, we've had a couple of these. These are not new territory. Now, I will say the crescendo we've seen has been probably unlike any we've seen before. But this bottoming out, if you will, is not the first time and will not be the last time it happens. And some people will tell you right now, and I don't know where my answer falls on this. Some people tell you right now, we're not even at the bottom yet. So the prices are going to continue to go down. We've seen wax. While wax remains very popular and probably one of the industry's biggest sellers, quite frankly, the ROI, the amounts that some wax is bringing has come down significantly. It's not red hot in the same respect as it was during the pandemic. So we're seeing a lot of leveling off, cooling off, correction, crash. Again, it's really just mere terminologies. When you look at the numbers, you're looking at 30, 40, 50% declines in secondary prices. And the terminology really is sort of an afterthought. I think it's just for pundits and experts to fight over. Just to put on a screen, crash or correction, and have two people go at each other's throats about why it's crash or why it's correction. At the end of the day, it don't matter what you call it. It is what it is. I know, one of my famous sayings, but kind of apropos for the situation. So we're gonna wind it down here and just say, listen, if you're going to be in the hobby long term, as someone like myself is, it's not a bad time right now to buy some stuff that you maybe you wanted before, and when it was in that stratosphere, you couldn't reach it. It was too high, right? You jump up out of your grasp. Now it's come back down. It's like that balloon, right? Helium's starting to release from it, and it's coming back to gravity, right? And so now maybe it was a rookie card, right? A Walter Payton, a rookie, high grade Walter Payton that you wanted badly, but you couldn't get it because of where it was at on the secondary market. Now it's it's dropped 30-40% potentially, and you're like, you know what? I got a shot out to get it and add it and never sell it, right? Once I get it, it's mine. You can't take it away from me. I can will it to whoever, leave it to whoever, but it's gonna be mine while I'm here, right? A card like that for me, 48 Leaf. I'm gonna start looking again, see what those lower grade ones are now bringing after this correction. Is it in a range where I can go to Chicago with that as one of the cards on my list that I'd like to get out of here and bring back to New York with me, right? And maybe it will be. We'll go see what the market bears. Don't forget, we got 4 weeks to the National. This whatever's going to be is still, obviously, that stuff's always in play. But we got 4 more weeks of in play before the Super Bowl, the hobby takes place. So if you're in this hobby for the long haul, it is a great buying opportunity right now. And quite frankly, it might get better if we haven't bottomed out yet. So It'll be interesting to see what the next 4 weeks leading up to the National, what the market does or continues to do. And at the National, what does that secondary market, what do those sellers do? Most people price at comps. Will we see that, or will people say, hey, it's a big show, people who are here bringing lots of money, I'm going to try to hold out for the highest dollar we can. And so it's going to be interesting. I think if Saturday and Sunday, if you're there on those 2 days, especially Sunday, you might see the best deal days, especially on Sunday, as dealers pack up, want to take less back, and depending on how they did during that week, right? I need to make some big last minute sales here to have a successful show. So there may be some really, really decent deals that last day or two. Well, with that being said, enjoy the hobby in any form or facet, good times, bad times, and everything in between. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Hobby Quick Hits.